Hello, welcome everyone. Happy holidays. I'm so happy that you're here. Today, I have a really exciting class planned for you because the holiday season is super important and it's one of those things that can kind of come in and throw a wrench into our plans if we're on the journey of trying to let go of any weight that we don't want to hold on to anymore and try to hit 2026 like with on the ground running. So today I'm going to give you something real. I'm going to give you some things that will actually help you stay on track, grounded, confident, and really truly in your power throughout the holiday season without feeling like you have to be on a diet or restrict yourself or give up any kind of joy that you're used to sharing with your family and your loved ones. What we're going to talk about today is the top 5 things that are actually working really well for my clients right now to prevent holiday weight gain. And it's setting them up for a really, really powerful January start again or a restart. Because here's the truth, right? If you have a vision for yourself in 2026, and you're on track trying to lose the weight that you want gone, but you might be feeling a little bit paralyzed right now because it's the holidays and there's holiday parties and loved ones come to visit. And maybe your kids love it when you make this specific dessert or you always have these cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning. But don't worry. I mean, really, the thing that I want you to hear today is that you don't need to quote unquote be good or quote unquote stay on track. And you don't even actually need to lose weight in December in order to have an extraordinary transformation in 2026 if that's what you're looking for yourself. The key is that you just don't need to lose yourself. And these next few weeks, think of them as kind of like the pre-season, your foundation or your runway to 2026 and all the things that you have planned for yourself. The 5 things that I'm about to teach you today are exactly what the most successful women in my program are doing right now. Women who are about to enter January feeling super strong and clear, fully ready to hit the ground running. Instead of limping into the new year because they potentially threw in the towel during the holiday season, lost momentum, feel bad in their body, and feel like they have to completely start all over again. So let's dive in. The first thing that I want to talk about is the holiday trap. And this is the thing that sabotages more women than anything else. It's the all or nothing mindset. Right out of the gate today, I want to name something that quietly makes or takes out so many women during the holidays, especially during perimenopause and menopause when we're feeling like we're fighting against our body already. Um, so this thing, it's not sugar, it's not wine, it's not the holiday parties. It's this all or nothing mindset. And here's how it shows up often. If you ever hear yourself thinking these thoughts, this will cue you in to if you're falling into this trap. I already blew it today, so I'll just try again in January. This week's too busy. I'll restart when things calm down. If I can't do it perfect, then why bother? Well, I messed up, so what's the point? If you hear yourself saying those things, you might be falling into that trap of feeling like you have to do everything exactly right, or there's no benefit to doing anything or trying at all. And I often refer to this in my group to my clients as, throwing in the towel. Forget it. And this mindset doesn't just create holiday weight gain, right? It creates kind of some shame. It can often create spirals and rebellion spirals. It can create the belief that your body's just not working with you, that it's working against you, and that maybe it's too complicated to manage, that weight loss is too complicated, it's too hard to do. But here's the truth, perfection is the number one thing sabotaging women's metabolism, particularly in midlife. It's never the treats or the travel or the holidays or the work. It's the idea of perfection. On a physiological level, perfection increases our baseline levels of cortisol. And during the holiday, most of us, even if it's a positive feeling of stress, most of us feel an uptick in our stress levels, which if we're working from a higher baseline cortisol level, uh, just spikes cortisol even more so. This creates more blood sugar instability, a spike in insulin over and over again, and those two things, cortisol and insulin, equal fat storage. So perfection, when you really get down to it, if I was to simplify it, perfection creates fat storage, which might fly in the face of what you have been taught or conditioned to think. On a psychological level, perfection can tend to validate any history we may have of telling ourselves or feeling like we've been a failure when it has come to weight loss in the past. The thing is that your nervous system doesn't know the difference between I had a cookie and I'm a failure who can't trust myself. To your body and to your biology, both of those are stress signals. So the women who stay in a place of steady confidence, steady knowing during the holidays, they're not the ones who are quote unquote good all month. They're the ones that refuse to abandon themselves. They're the women that know that one meal doesn't ruin anything, that one workout miss doesn't make or break you, that one day off plan doesn't define your future, and that good enough is potentially more metabolically powerful than perfect. And this is where a lot of power lives, right? Consistency, not perfection. Self-compassion, not punishment. And course correction, not collapse. This is something that I talk about so much in my program with my clients, and it just changes their lives because what we're used to is the conditioning that we have to do something perfect, and the moment we go off plan, everything's ruined, and we throw in the towel. We say, "Oh, forget it," and then a certain amount of time goes by, and we feel like we have to start all over again. Course correction is one of the most powerful tools to have in your toolbox. What it does is not only it trains your brain to trust yourself again, to know that you can have a day or you can have a week where things don't work exactly the way that you planned, but you can get back to your what I call your foundational non-negotiables. You can get back to those. And that over time builds trust back into yourself. But the other thing that it builds is what's called metabolic flexibility. Your body is really, really smart. And when you do the same thing over and over and over again, especially when you do it to perfection, then your body can get cued in to what you're trying to do. And it gets less flexible. It gets more reliant on one way of being. So if you're used to doing keto and you do keto 95 to 100% of the time for 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, whatever, your body gets super used to you eating keto. The moment you eat off keto, the body's going to respond pretty intensely. So, metabolic flexibility on a biological level speaks to the body's ability to switch between burning glucose in your blood for energy and burning fat stores for energy. And that flexibility gives you sustainability. This is one of the core teachings that I offer in my program. And again, it's something that absolutely changes my clients' lives because instead of thinking that they're bad and that they're failures because they went off track, they understand that actually, when they do it intentionally and with awareness, they're building metabolic flexibility. And one of the things that we're talking about in my group right now is how the month of December can be one of the greatest teachers of ours when it comes to metabolic flexibility. And when you do it with intention and you know what you're doing and you don't collapse, you can actually use it to create a platform for even more weight loss and even more positive response in your system come post holiday or January 1. So if you're interested in more of that, please don't hesitate to book that free call that I offer here in the group. It's 15 minutes. It's not a sales call. It's one of those calls where you tell me what you're doing. I tell you what you can shift in order to be more effective. And especially during this holiday season, that 15-minute call could either make or break your success. So please book that call, but I'm not gonna talk about that too much. Let's keep going. what I want to say to you is that the women who walk into January mentally, like psychologically and physiologically ready to crush it inside of my program, they're not the women who were perfect all December. They were not the women who stayed in the game and didn't eat any sugar and were doing a diet the whole month. And they definitely aren't the women who fall into that all or nothing mindset. It's a trap. But here's the good news. You can choose the exit, and that's why I'm really pounding this information home for you today. So that's the first thing. Second thing that is really, really working well for my clients right now is that their concept of what they're doing is not dieting. And particularly this month, in November and December, actually the last 2 months, they're not dieting. They are actually, I'm encouraging them to focus on stabilizing some key hormones in order to keep them in that grounded cortisol lowered level, the levels of cortisol lowered space. Um, and one of those hormones is insulin, particularly their blood sugar, is what I'm having them really focus on stabilizing during this time. Because holiday weight gain for women who are in perimenopause and aware of healthy eating and trying to drop some pounds, holiday weight gain rarely comes from them consistently overeating. Generally speaking, portion control is not the issue. So if you're a woman on the journey trying to let go of some weight and you're doing your best during the holiday, then, if you're spending a lot of time trying to be good and watching your portions, trying to eat less, saying no to that dessert, all of that, it might not actually be serving you the way that you think. The thing that really derails us from the goal of not putting on more weight or from the goal of not spiking our insulin during the holidays is the constant little snacking, the constant little insulin bursts. So while you're cooking, you take a few bites of what you're baking. You walk by the fireplace where there's a bowl of M&Ms and you take a few. I know that's very specific, but my in-laws used to do that. They would put out peanut M&Ms in bowls around the house during the holidays. And at the time, I found myself walking around the house, and every single time I'd grab a couple peanut M&Ms. And that was years ago. I don't even eat M&Ms anymore. But that kind of mindless snacking is one of the biggest sabotagers in this whole holiday situation. Um, let's say you go to a party and there's a food table and you find yourself just kind of nibbling on the food that's on the food table the entire night. So, the real culprit of weight gain during this time from a food perspective is actually the roller coaster in blood sugar levels. It's elevated cortisol, more stress than usual. It's spikes in inflammation from elevated cortisol, from elevated insulin spikes, and just low grade nutrient depletion. The constant snacking sends a message to your brain that you're not really hungry, but you're not really full. So you just kind of snack on things that you don't really care about. And most often that includes foods that are pretty low impact, nutrient dense foods. So instead of trying to be good, the women who are maintaining their weight right now so well are doing one thing. And this is what I want you to remember for this portion, is that anchoring every single meal with a blood sugar stabilizer can completely change the game. So, what does that mean? That means protein first, it means fiber second, it means color third, and carbohydrates last. So, if you have to prioritize your plate, think of it in this order: protein first, 25 to 30 grams of protein. Fiber second, make sure you have half your plate in those beautifully colored vegetables. Color third is eat the rainbow in your veggies. And then carbohydrates, they have a place, but think of them as last. Not perfectly, just consistently. What this does is it reduces your cravings. It keeps you fuller longer, mitigating that snacking tendency. It prevents cortisol and insulin driven fat storage. and it helps your body recover faster, improving that metabolic flexibility after you do have an indulgent meal. So I don't want you to think of these four things as dieting. Protein first, fiber second, color third, carbohydrates last. It's not dieting, it's chemistry management. Okay, the next thing that my clients are doing to help them skate through November and December without shrapnel is that they're creating bookends on their days to support their metabolic processes. The bookends are simple: a morning ritual and an evening ritual that helps keep your nervous system regulated and your metabolism responsive and flexible. Why this works? It works because your metabolism doesn't shut down because of what you eat at a dinner party. It slows down and it gets sabotaged when you're stressed, when you're underslept, when you're dehydrated, when you're inflamed, and you're not able to recover. So these holiday bookends create predictability in a season that can be full of chaos. So, morning bookend examples. Get up, and the first thing that you do is you drink 12 ounces of warm lemon water. You prioritize having 20 to 30 grams of protein within about 90 minutes of waking up. You intentionally set the goal of having 10 minutes of sunlight or outside movement. Go for a walk with your loved ones. Another example is just 3 minutes of deep breathing first thing in the morning. And one of the things that I love to do is I keep lemon water by the side of my bed. And my feet hit the ground when I turn, my legs. I start to get out of bed, but my feet hit the ground. I take my lemon water. I do deep breathing. I say some gratitude affirmations, and I drink my lemon water, and it sets the whole tone for my day. So, some evening bookend examples. Maybe you turn your screens off 45 minutes before bed. I know that we hear that a lot, and it starts to feel like Charlie Brown's mom. Want, 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 want. But there really is scientific evidence that proves that if we turn our devices off 40 minutes before bed, our cortisol levels drop, our rest is more deep, we get to rest more deeply, and we wake up feeling so much more refreshed. We get to recover. Another evening bookend example that I have my clients doing is taking magnesium at the end of the evening. It really helps them sleep. It helps relax the whole nervous system. It helps with any kind of muscle tension or contraction, cramps, anything like that. Doing some light stretching, just spending some time with your sweet body at the end of the night. You don't have to make a yoga class out of it, but you can just get on the floor and just move your body and start to feel yourself. Can be really, really helpful. And then again, breath work, just doing 5 deep breaths, taking 5 deep breaths in, 5 exhales, downshifts your levels of cortisol. And these are really simple, easy things that may give you the idea that it wouldn't change anything, but I promise you, when these things add up together, it can make a huge difference in your cortisol levels. And these provide what we call metabolic anchors. They give your body the stability that your body's looking for, even when your schedule isn't giving that stability. One of the things that I stress when I'm working with my clients is that, especially when we hit perimenopause and menopause, our body is looking for safety. If our body does not feel safe, there is no way it's going to let go of any weight that we want to let go of. The body's wired to hold fat. To the body, that feels like life, that feels like safety. And so when our stress levels or when are up, or if the body feels unsafe, then any attempt at even staying at the weight that you're at, never mind losing weight, will never happen. So these bookends give the body a feeling and a message of safety. even when, potentially the holiday chaos is hitting your household. Okay, so that's thing number three. The fourth one is my clients, I am teaching them to protect their muscle at all costs. Nothing protects your metabolism during the holidays like muscle mass. Actually, ever. Nothing protects your metabolism ever more than muscle mass. And particularly in middle life, we lose muscle so fast, especially if we're dieting and we're calorie restricting, we're in calorie deficits. Maybe we're doing intermittent fasting, we're really pushing our fasting capabilities. Our body starts to lose our muscle mass at a rapid rate. The body will actually eat your muscle before it will let go of weight or let go of fat if it doesn't have the right information. So, these are ways that women tend to lose muscle fast. When your workouts become inconsistent, when your sleep gets disrupted and your cortisol levels spike, when your protein levels drop, and when stress increases, and when you fast too much. I don't know if that's a thing for any of you all right now, but if you're in the intermittent fasting world, and it's the holiday season and you know that you want to have this big meal with your family in the evening, you might push your fasting to 20 hours so you can have that big meal at the end of the day. Or if you're following that one meal a day protocol. What I want you to hear, and I teach this in detail in my group, is that intermittent fasting for women in perimenopause and menopause can be absolutely detrimental to your muscle mass. And so you might see numbers going down on the scale, but often it's a muscle decrease, not necessarily a fat decrease. If you want more information on that, there's a training on intermittent fasting versus rhythmic eating in the school group. Check that out. So the women in my group, what we're working with is that instead of choosing things that might sacrifice their muscle tissue, they pick what we call the minimum effective dose, or as I've already shared with you, sometimes I refer to it in my group as the foundational list of non-negotiables. So for example, it could mean no matter what, you get 20 grams of protein in every single one of your meals, 20 to 30 grams of protein. No matter what, you go out for a walk for 10 to 15 minutes during the daytime. Or no matter what, you hold on to 2 of your strength training visits at the gym instead of doing 4, maybe that you're doing at the gym already. Um, or you commit to a 10-minute kind of metabolic circuit, kind of a HIIT program. Um, or you commit to doing short walks after your meals. The list of foundational non-negotiables is something that you can really anchor to behaviorally that will keep your body in the game. So the bookends are one of those that can be that. Your lemon water, your affirmations, your walks during the day. All of these things are strategic, they're intentional, and they're future focused, meaning that these small things that you can do and that you can thread throughout the month of December is how your January will come to you without feeling like you're starting from absolute zero, starting over. So this is one of the things that we focus on inside the Radiant Body Rewire, which is my program. Protecting and building muscle is so incredibly important so that your metabolism stays alive, it stays flexible, responsive, and strong. And like I mentioned already, a flexible metabolism means flexible diets, flexible eating, flexible behaviors, because your body has the ability to shift and move along with you instead of getting fixated and stubborn, and then makes you feel like if you even veer off your diet for 2 or 3 days, you put on 5 pounds. That's a sign of decreased metabolic flexibility. So if you're really thinking sustainability, if you're really thinking long term and you're not just after this weight loss to get a quick fix, get it off, and then you're not even really thinking beyond that. If you're thinking like, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't want to be on a diet anymore. I just want to get this weight off of me, and then I want to know what to do to keep it this way. Metabolic flexibility is one of the most important things that you need to learn how to do. It's a huge part of my program, and I would say it's the thing that relieves or actually delivers my clients into liberation. And that's really what we talk about so much is that, none of us are out here trying to lose weight just to feel like we're in jail and we can't eat this and we can't eat that. None of us are after that. We're all in this to feel like we are free and we have a free relationship with food and we have a free relationship with our body. We want to feel amazing and we want to be able to choose what we eat and not feel like we're restricted all the time. That's the goal. And it's so absolutely possible. Um, okay, I could talk about that for 2 hours. The next thing that I want to talk about is that my clients are focusing on crowding out, not restricting. So, one of the things that I know to be true, and this is true about me and many, many of my clients, is that we have an inner rebel, that we don't want to be told what we can and can't eat. So, restriction backfires hard, particularly in menopause, and not just behaviorally or psychologically. In the body, it backfires. So, the more that you say, I can't have that, or I shouldn't eat that, the more your brain becomes obsessed with it of like, well, I want to eat that. Why are you telling me that I can't eat that? I should eat that. What happens if I eat that? I want to eat that. No, I can't eat that. I shouldn't eat that. And it creates a lot of food noise. So the women that maintain their weight throughout this holiday season are using a strategy we practice inside of my group called crowding out. And instead of removing foods, you add things that make your body feel better. So you add a protein to your breakfast. You add a salad before a holiday meal. I've been known to actually make a salad or a plate of vegetables and eat that before I go to a party so I know that I'm not showing up there starving to where I won't care about the veggies when I get there. I'll just want all the delicious tasting foods. So I'll eat the salad and then I'll go to the party and I have much more intention with the foods that I choose when I'm at the party. So you add electrolytes, making sure that your body's actually hydrated from the inside out. You add an earlier bedtime when you can. You add in movement after a big meal. You go for a walk. You add in self-chosen boundaries around snacking, around overeating, and just becoming really, really aware of when you choose to eat something just because it's there. Not because your body wants it, not because you're hungry, but just because it's there. And that's one of the snacking habits that we talk about so much in the program too. Um, because honestly, our body biologically is wired to capitalize on food when it's around. Think of our ancestors. They had to be able to get enough calories in, and it was really challenging for them. So if something was there, if berries were there, they were going to eat it. And so we're working with a biological body that is so much older than our modern style of living. So a big boon to all this is being very, very aware of yourself that when you're eating something just because it's there. So crowding out naturally reduces the desire to snack or spiral or even binge without feeling deprived. You bring in so much stuff that you feel so full and content and resourced and nourished. Put you back in the driver's seat. Okay, and the last thing that I want to share with you that my clients are doing that is making everything different and easier for them, and this is the mother of them all, if you ask me, is that they decide ahead of time who they are becoming in 2026. Who is the woman that you're becoming? Who is she? What does she look like? How does she think? What choices does she make? This one is everything because the women who glide through the holidays without falling apart do something that most women never consider. They pre-decide their identity. They pre-decide their January or their 2026 or their 50th year or their 65th year or whatever. They pre-decide their identity. And this work changed my life. And it's something that I've intentionally incorporated into my program and when I work with my clients is the identity work around uh, who you are becoming is so important. I'm constantly saying to my clients, you are practicing becoming the woman who. So they pre-decide their January identity, not their January diet, not their January goals, not their January punishment cycle. They decide, I'm a woman who. I'm a woman who prioritizes muscle. I'm a woman who doesn't start over. She upgrades. I'm a woman who invests in her health without guilt. I'm a woman who stops dieting and starts working with her chemistry. I'm a woman who takes her power back. Identity drives behavior. Behavior drives results. And this is why the women who decide right now, before the chaos of December completely sideswipes them and rolls through, these are the ones that are making the biggest transformations. This is a core philosophy inside of my 12-week program, The Radiant Body Rewire, that we do this identity work. And women enter as they are, and they end up leaving stronger, internally stronger, externally stronger, leaner, more energized, and more hormonally balanced than they felt in decades. So here's what I want you to hear. You don't need to be perfect this holiday season. You just need a plan that keeps you stable, grounded, and deeply connected to who you are and who you want to be in January. So if you haven't created the vision of yourself and you don't know who you want to be come January 2026, sit with that. Make that a priority to sit down and get really clear about the woman that you're becoming. These things that we just went over, I think there was 6 things, not 5. These things work. They work because they're science-backed, they're hormone-friendly, they're realistic for women in midlife, and they're actually made for women in perimenopause and menopause. The truth is that most of the diet advice and the eating advice and the workout advice and all the advice in the world that's floating around out there is designed for men. It's not designed for women 40 and over. These things actually work because they're designed for us. They're designed by us and for us. But when you use December as your runway, right? As your runway, not your sabotage, not your setback, not throw in the towel, forget it, I'll try again in January. When you use it as your runway and you implement these 5 or 6 things, it can absolutely pave the way for you to enter the new year with momentum and confidence and clarity and excitement. And maybe you're already 10 steps ahead. You enter January ready to pull the trigger on the deeper work. Rewiring your metabolism, resetting your hormones, protecting your muscle, healing your inflammation, optimizing your energy, rebuilding a powerful relationship with food and your body. And what does this all mean? It means that you slip your clothes on with ease and they button and snap and zip and you feel amazing. And you look in the mirror and you go, there you are, babe. I see you. There you are. And you feel confident and when you walk into the room and you feel super sexy with your partner and you feel energized to play with your grandkids or your kids and you don't feel like, oh, I have to sit this one out. I have to sit on the sidelines of my life because I don't have the energy. I don't have the power. This is true transformation, and it's not hard. This is the thing. This is what I want all of you to hear. It's not complex. It's actually quite simple. Is it easy? I wouldn't say that, but it's simple and it's more available to you and more accessible to you than you might think it is. So this is what all that we do in Radiant Body Rewire well, it's a portion of what we do in that program. And I'm telling you, it works. My clients are losing 20, 30 pounds. They are picking up activities that they haven't been able to do in the longest time. One of my clients, she set a goal of 135. She hit that goal. She set the next goal to 132. She hit that goal. She hit the next goal to 128. She hit 128 and she hasn't weighed 128 pounds since she was 20 years old. And it's not uh, losing weight to be thin, it's her being as active and as engaged with her life as possible. She's playing hours of pickleball with her partner. She's just having the time of her life. So it's possible, it's more possible than it might feel right now in this moment. But I've worked with hundreds of women now, and over again is what I see is that when these core pillars are mastered, it absolutely paves the way for the blueprint that I teach in my program to make their bodies start dropping the weight that is holding them back, making them feel heavy and tired in their lives easier and quicker than they ever thought possible, and in a sustainable way. This isn't a one-shot wonder. This isn't a quick fix where you lose the weight and then you go back to what you were doing before and all the weight comes back on. Absolutely not. We change the biological nature of your system. We increase your metabolic flexibility. You learn how to care for your sweet system and your sweet body the way that it's asking to be cared for right now at this time in your life, and it's transformational. So if you've been feeling the pull, if you have a vision for yourself in 2026, if you've been craving support to be able to sift through all the crazy amounts of conflicting information that's living out there in the internet world and you don't know how to decipher it all, what will actually work for you, if you feel like you've tried everything, and your body's not losing a pound and you feel like you keep beating your head against the wall, then I want you to book that free call that I offer. Like I said, it's not a sales call. I'm not going to try to get you in my program. In fact, it's very, very rare that I invite somebody into my program. But what I will do is I will help you decipher what pathway you're on and what things that you need to tweak. But in the meantime, implement these 5 or 6 things that we talked about today. Um, Keep in touch with me on the school group. Book that 15-minute call and we can talk about your vision for 2026 and the pathway to get you there. Okay, I hope this helped. Have a really wonderful day. I'll see you at the next Tuesday training.